Welcome you to another illuminating journey here on the Depth Dive.
Great to be here.
As always, we're setting out to explore the fascinating sources you've shared. And today, well, we have a really rich one. Session 44 of the Law of One Material.
Session 44, yes. A lot packed in there.
Exactly. And our mission in this deep dive is to go question by question through this session. Not just to understand what was said, but to really unpack the beautiful insights, engage deeply with the concepts.
And find that positive understanding, right?
Precisely. A positive and comprehensive understanding. Think of it like meticulously unwrapping each layer of this exchange to reveal the gems inside.
And we'll approach it with that spirit of interconnectedness, you know, remembering Namaste, I am you, and you are me.
Love that.
Our aim isn't just clarifying the dialogue, but drawing out the deeper resonance, the broader significance for your own journey, you, the listener.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Question 44.1. The questioner starts off expressing concern, about the instrument's vitality.
Right, acknowledging it's hard for them to assess it themselves. They're asking Ra for perspective.
And what jumps out first in Ra's response?
Well, what immediately stands out, I think, is Ra's respectful acknowledgement. They recognize the instrument's own careful appraisal.
That highlights the sensitivity involved, doesn't it? The self-awareness.
It really does for this kind of work. And Ra also expresses a degree of surprise.
Surprise. About what?
That they could even maintain contact, you know, with all the intense negative interference going on.
Wow. That says something about resilience, maybe.
I think so. It underscores the resilience of connection, even when things are challenging.
And Ra mentions the sexual energy transfers from before.
Right, as a source of vital energy in past sessions. But they note that's not what's happening here.
Okay, so if that energy source isn't in play, what is allowing the instrument to sustain the contact?
Well, Ra states it pretty unequivocally. It's the instrument's own will.
Just sheer will, driving the body.
Driving its bodily complex, in this specific session. And that's a powerful point for you, the listener, to consider.
The impact of intention, of inner resolve.
Exactly. In any endeavor, really, but especially ones needing that sustained energy and focus.
But then Ra adds a really important nuance, right, about this unregulated will to serve.
A caution. They warn about the potential for serious distortion.
And even suggest martyrdom isn't necessarily helpful. That's quite a statement.
It really is.
What?
It speaks to that crucial balance in life, you know?
Yeah.
The desire to serve.
Needs to be tempered.
Tempered with self-care, absolutely. Understanding your own limits, pushing past them, even with good intentions, well, it can backfire.
So what's the suggestion then?
Ra suggests the instrument release the power of judgment to the support group.
Let the group help decide.
Yeah, basically. Recognizing the value of shared wisdom, detaching from personal expectations. It allows for more balanced decisions.
So strength and vulnerability, maybe. Collective wisdom.
Precisely. And Ra emphasizes the long-term contact kind of hinges on the instrument accepting this help.
To ensure their well-being.
Right. It's a reminder that letting others help is a strength, and it can sustain our ability to serve longer. Ra even thanks the questioner for bringing it up.
Underlines how important that point was. Okay, moving to 44.2. The questioner, showing that care again, asks to stop the contact if needed.
Yeah, if there's any concern about the instrument's vitality, it shows real ethical consideration.
But Ra's response reveals something critical about the energy exchange, doesn't it?
It does. They explain the instrument has already drawn upon dearly bought inner reserves.
Just to establish the connection before the main questions even start.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, this illustrates how intention and preparation for something can, well, initiate an energetic commitment right away.
So the energy use starts before the main event.
It seems so. And because of that dedication, Ra feels a responsibility, a kind of honor duty, to use that energy well.
They commit to stopping if energy gets low.
But they also point out the only way to avoid that cost entirely is to just not do the working at all. It highlights a fascinating dynamic.
You know, the commitment of intent has its own energetic price tag, sort of.
You could say that. A very insightful point about the power of intention itself.
Okay, now 44.3 shifts gears. A sensory detail. The questioner hears a tone.
In their left ear, right at the start of communication.
And Ra's take.
Pretty direct. They identify it as a negatively oriented signal.
Just like that. Negative.
Yeah. It introduces the idea that these subtle experiences might carry specific polarities. Suggests a need for discernment.
Which leads right into 44.4. What would a positive signal sound like?
And what's really illuminating here is Ra describes two types.
Okay.
First, a signal in the right ear. It means listen, take heed. An unworded message, but important.
Like an intuitive nudge. Pay attention.
That's a good way to put it. A sense of heightened awareness may be guiding you.
And the second positive signal?
That's a tone perceived above the head. Ra calls it a balanced confirmation of a thought.
A confirmation. Like you're on the right track.
Exactly. Suggests an inner alignment, that feeling of resonance, when your thoughts line up with a higher understanding or truth, like an inner compass pointing true.
That's a beautiful idea. Inner guidance systems. Okay, 44.5, the questioner asks about other negative signals.
And Ra confirms, yes, you can receive negative thought forms, word forms, even visions.
Wow.
But importantly, Ra notes the questioner seems able to discriminate between them.
So we have an innate ability to tell the difference.
It suggests that, yeah. An inherent capacity to discern the nature of incoming info, even the subtle stuff. It encourages trusting your own intuition, doesn't it?
Definitely empowering. Which brings us to 44.6, and this one feels big. Why are they open to negative signals in the first place?
And Ra's answer is so concise, yet so profound.
What do they say?
Just, are you not all things?
Whoa.
Right. It just beautifully captures that core law of one principle, interconnectedness.
Everything is part of the one.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, it's an invitation to contemplate reality's nature. As part of the one infinite creator, we inherently contain the potential to experience the whole spectrum.
Including what we label negative.
Recognizing the unity under all the duality. It's a powerful reminder of how vast we are.
It really is. Okay, so question 44.7. The questioner decides, okay, let's terminate contact, let the instrument rest.
Again, showing that deep respect and care. But Ray's response here is quite revealing.
How so?
They actually apologize. Sort of. They beg forgiveness for addressing something that wasn't directly asked.
What do they need to clarify?
They felt compelled to make a crucial point about the energy. They emphasized the energy has already been dedicated.
Already spent, in a way.
Lost to the instrument for this specific purpose, yeah. Even if they stopped right then, the energetic investment was made because of the intention and preparation.
So stopping wouldn't save that already committed energy?
Apparently not. It highlights that once we commit our energy, there's a consequence, you know, regardless of the immediate outcome. Ra stresses the instrument's prior offering of its beingness.
For this specific kind of communication.
Is the very foundation. The reason Ra can work through them at all. The energy is dedicated at a really fundamental level of intent.
That shifts the focus, doesn't it? From just conserving energy during the session.
To honoring the deeper energetic commitment already made in the willingness to serve.
Which leads right into 44.8. The questioner wants a clearer explanation of this energy loss. Understandably.
Yeah, and Ra gives a really detailed, insightful breakdown. They start by emphasizing the conscious dedication of everyone involved.
To service to others.
Within their current lives, yes. And for the instrument, the dedication is specifically refined, through long experience channeling Confederation philosophy.
So consistent focus strengthens that pathway.
It seems so. It shapes their very being. Ra repeats that from the very start, the instrument offered its beingness not just for general service.
But for this communication specifically.
Right. And over time, that dedication got even more focused. Now here's the pivotal point to grasp. Once that vital energy is dedicated by the instrument for these communications, it becomes unavailable for day-to-day stuff, even if a specific working doesn't happen right then.
Just the underlying intention triggers the commitment.
That's the idea. The intention itself gathers and dedicates the energy.
Okay. That really clarifies Ra's earlier suggestion about the instrument needing to release its will about the timing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the desire for contact itself kicks off the energy gathering, making it less available for mundane things. Understanding this reframes the whole dynamic.
It's about honoring an energy commitment that's already there. Wow. Profound stuff about the energetics of channeling and intent.
Definitely.
So then 44.9, the questioner gets it. They logically conclude, okay, let's continue the session then.
Since the energy's already committed, yeah, but with careful monitoring and the questioner making the call on timing.
And Ra's response.
Powerful confirmation. This is profoundly correct.
Profoundly correct. Can't argue with that.
No. And Ra adds that the instrument's determination to continue during this period had already extended the low energy phase.
So the instrument's will was actively shaping their energy state too.
It reinforces that significant role of will and intention in the whole process.
Yeah.
A fascinating look at that interplay.
Okay, let's shift to 44.10. Nullifying unwanted negative influences Signals, dreams, how?
Ra offers a really compassionate approach here. First step,
Yeah.
share it. Share those difficult experiences with the other group members.
Power and community, trust.
Exactly. Shared processing for challenging energies. For you, the listener, it underscores the value of open communication, support systems when things get tough.
Makes sense. And the second part, meditation.
Yes, a specific kind. Meditating in love for the senders of those negative images and light.
Love for the senders, even negative ones.
And extending that love and light to yourself and other selves too. It embodies that law of one principle of unconditional love, right?
Yeah.
Even towards apparent negativity.
And Ra advises against just trying to suppress it.
Explicitly. Don't try to downgrade it with intellect or willpower, they say. That can actually make it stick around longer.
So embrace it with love and compassion. Don't resist.
That's the core idea. Sharing and trust, uniting hearts in love and light. It fosters compassion for the sender and creates a kind of protective shield for yourself. A holistic approach.
Addressing the energetic root.
Okay.
Next, 44.11, the source of the instrument's dream that morning.
Roy identifies the feeling of the dream, the emotional tone, as Orion influenced. Now, Orion, in this cosmology, often represents the service-to-self path, right?
Right, more self-focused development. So the dream felt like that energy.
Exactly. But Ra also points out the specific clothing of the dream, the images, the symbols,
That came from the instrument.
reflected the instrument's own unconscious associative patterns. So for you, the listener, this shows how external influences get filtered, interpreted through our own inner landscape, our beliefs, experiences.
So the energy might be external, but the manifestation is personal.
Nicely put. Okay, 44.12 takes us back to the questioner's own experience. Years ago.
The glowing, rapidly moving arm during meditation?
Yeah. Riss explains this was an analogy, made available by the questioner's higher self.
An analogy for what?
Symbolizing the questioner's being existing in a way that, well, goes beyond current science. Physics, medicine, they don't quite grasp it.
A glimpse beyond the material.
Exactly. A powerful reminder of the limits of just material views and the unseen dimensions of our being.
Mysteries beyond current science. Okay, 44.13 brings us back to practical stuff. How to revitalize the instrument.
Right, to support continued contact. Rest first clarifies the questioner's glowing arm experience.
But wasn't directly related.
Related to contacting intelligent infinity, yeah. Not directly applicable to the instrument needing vital energy now.
Yeah. So what does help the instrument?
Ray reiterates things they've mentioned before. Sensitivity to beauty, singing sacred music, meditation, worship.
Things that nurture the spirit.
Exactly. And sharing of self in freely given love could be social, could be sexual intercourse, activities that foster connection, resonance, positive energy flow.
That makes intuitive sense.
It does. Ra also notes the instrument's distortion towards appreciation of a variety of experiences. Meaning for this instrument, engaging with life's richness and diversity can also be energizing. A less direct aid, but still helpful for them.
Interesting. Okay, now we get more abstract. 44.14, the Malkuth to Kether diagram, magical practices, relating it to colors or densities.
Yeah, the questioner is trying to map it out. But Ra says that proposed one-to-one correspondence is basically incorrect.
Basically incorrect. Ouch.
Well, they do acknowledge the line of thinking is correct, just the simple mapping isn't. Ra explains each station is way more complex.
How so?
Involves complex numbers, shadings of energy centers, plays a part in different balances, lower, middle, high, total balance.
So not simple category.
Not at all. Each station has complex colors or rays, complex charges. It highlights how intricate these energetic systems are, multidimensional.
Much more nuanced. Okay, 44.15, a common question. Left-hand path is service to self. Right-hand path is service to others.
Right. And Ra, noting it's the last full query, gives a clear correction. No, that's incorrect.
Incorrect. How does Ray explain it?
They clarify these stations, these concepts, are relationships. And both paths, so-called left and right, use these same fundamental relationships.
Ah, so the tools or frameworks are neutral.
Exactly. That's the crucial distinction. Ra uses that great analogy. The tools are the tools.
It's the user's intent.
Precisely. The intent of the practitioner working with these powerful concepts determines the polarity, whether it's used for service to self or service to others. Inner motivation is paramount.
That's a really key takeaway. Intent shapes the outcome, not the method itself. Okay, one final brief question. 44.16. The ipsissimus.
Yeah, the polarity of the ipsissimus. And Ra In the law of one context gives a very specific definition here.
Which is?
They define the ipsissimus as someone who has mastered the tree of life and deliberately used that mastery for negative polarization, service to self.
So not just any highly advanced being, but one with that specific orientation in this system.
Correct. And after that, Ra offers room for just one brief final query.
Leading to 44.1 Civ, the questioner reflects, kind of apologizes for maybe going off track.
But notes they made progress regulating the sessions, which was a goal. And they thoughtfully ask if anything in the session could make the instrument more comfortable or improve contact.
Still focused on care and integrity.
Beautifully illustrates their dedication, doesn't it, to the instrument's well-being and the communication itself.
And Ra's closing words, just perfect.
So comforting, so wise. There are no mistakes. Be at rest, my friend. Each of you is most conscientious. All is well.
What a reassuring message to end on.
It truly is. Ra concludes offering love and light, infinite creator, encouraging rejoicing in power and peace. I am Ra Adonai.
Yeah.
Just a gentle, profoundly positive end to a very deep session.
Wow, what an incredibly detailed and rich session that was. And I trust for you, our listener, seeking knowledge that's both, quickly grasped, but also deeply understood.
This question-by-question walkthrough has been valuable.
Yeah. We've really delved into the nuances, haven't we? Dedication to service, that fascinating dance of energy exchange and channeling.
The importance of discerning subtle signals, both positive and negative.
And the absolute centrality of intent, that came through so strongly.
Absolutely. We saw how the energy commitment starts with intention, how different perceptions can carry distinct signatures, and how polarity itself is shaped by intent, not just structures or paths.
These are profound insights, really applicable to understanding energy, intention, our connection to everything, broadly applicable. And by walking through it step by step, we hope you, our listener, have gained not just facts, but a deeper, more engaged understanding without feeling overwhelmed by the complexity.
Indeed. It really shows the power of focused inquiry, doesn't it? And Ra patient, detailed answers.
Definitely. So as you go about your day, maybe reflect on your own energetic commitments. Where are you investing your vital force?
And what intentions are shaping those investments?
Good questions. And perhaps tune into those subtle signals in your own life, too. How might you discern their nature, their origin, with maybe more awareness, more compassion?
Powerful avenues for reflection, absolutely.
Yeah.
For growth.
Well, thank you for allowing us to delve into this remarkable source material with you. It's always an honor to do these deep dives together.
Always a pleasure.
Until our next exploration, may your own journey be filled with, well, ever-increasing insight and understanding.